Well, good morning, algebra students. The little kitty says, "Good morning. Are you ready to do algebra?" Yes. Okay, I've heard from several of you that you need some extra help with 3-5, and guess what? I have a document camera. Kitty says, "Yay!" So that means I'm going to be able to help you with some stuff as long as I'm feeling good. So, or I don't have a doctor appointment or whatever. Okay, so let's do some bell work to go over the first part of 3-5, okay? And so the main thing in 3-5 in the beginning is writing stuff in roster form and in set builder notation, okay? So remember that roster form is really to list it out, and set builder notation has a specific way to write it, okay? So let's talk about this. Let's do the first one, and you can pause the video if you need to so that you can write this all down, because I know it's kind of a lot, but I recommend putting this in your notes so that you have it for the next test. Okay, so let's start. It says J is the set of natural numbers that are less than or equal to 8. So let's start with roster form. So roster form means we're going to just list them out, okay? So we're going to start with, because it tells us J, is that J equals. And then we're going to make our bracket, okay? So to make that bracket, make a C, sideways V, and another C. There's a bracket. Okay, and so natural numbers right here means that we start with the number 1 and we count on up, okay? So less than or equal to 8. So the first natural number less than or equal to 8 that we can use is 1. We can use 2, we can use 3, we can use 4, we can use 5, we can use 6, we can use 7. Can we also use 8 here? Well, it says less than or equal to, so we also get 8. And that's it. And then you end the bracket going backwards C, sideways V, backwards C again. And that would be the answer in roster form, okay? So this is roster. Now, set builder is different, right? And that, I think, is the one that is the struggle a little bit. So let's talk about set builder. So in your notes from last time, so here's my notes written in, and we'll fill this other part in later. This right here gave us what we need to do. It's okay. So general set builder format, it says start with whatever our variable is, okay? And in this case, we actually have to start with J because it tells us what the set is called. So J equals, and we're going to put our bracket sideways, or C, V, C, okay? And we're going to say X is our variable. You can use any letter you want, unless it's like this, then you have to use X because that's the variable. We're going to put a line. And then the next thing it says is that we have to tell the subset, all right? And so it tells us in here, right here, we're going to say X is an element of, all right? That's that little E right there, the natural numbers. And if you're not comfortable writing that little E because you don't know what it means, it just means it's an element of that, you can say X is a natural number. And then you put a comma. And the next thing it says in our notes is we have to either write an inequality or a description. In this case, what does it make sense to do? It says the set of natural numbers that are less than or equal to 8. Well, that makes sense to do an inequality because we can easily do that. X is less than or equal to 8. And then we end our bracket. When we don't do an inequality and we do a description is when it says something like X is a factor of 25 or something like that. But in this case, it's including all the numbers less than or equal to 8 that are natural numbers. So that's our answer, and this is set builder. Okay, so that's how we do it from a description. You will more than likely see them like this, though, where you have an inequality, okay? And so in this case, the first thing you need to do is solve that inequality. So let's do that. Excuse me. So negative 2 times x is going to give us negative 2x. negative 2 times negative 7 is going to give us positive 14, is greater than negative 10 minus 6x. Okay, so now we have an x on the left and an x on the right, so we have to cancel one of them. I'm going to cancel the one on the right by adding. Okay, and then I'm going to add it here. So negative 2x plus 6x gives us positive 4x plus 14 is greater than negative 10. Okay, and now I'm going to cancel that positive 14 by subtracting. Okay, so I get 4x is greater than negative 24. Okay, and the last step is going to be to divide by 4, and I'm dividing by a positive, so I keep that inequality going the same way. X is greater than negative 6. So this is my answer to the inequality, but to write it in roster form or set builder form, here's roster, okay? So remember, roster is we just list it. Now, this time, it doesn't tell us, like here it says J is the set. It doesn't tell us that. So we just start with our bracket, and this says X is greater than negative 6, right? So we can list it out as like this. If the first number that would be greater than, the first whole number greater, or integer greater than negative 6 is negative 5, right? So the thing is, we use decimals here, so we might have to say negative 5.9, and then negative 5.8, and then negative 5.7, because it doesn't specify. And then we do ... That would be roster form here. This one doesn't make sense to use that format because of the decimals, okay? So they will ask you on ones like this to use set builder instead. It makes more sense. So set builder would look like this, okay? Again, we're going to start with our bracket. This time we have to use x because that's the variable. Then we do a line, and then we have to say what it's a part of. Well, this whole thing, it doesn't list that it's what kind of subset it is, so you have to assume it's the real numbers. So we're going to say x is an element of the real numbers. And I'm going to run out of space here. No, I'm not. Okay, so we're going to say that if it doesn't specify, comma, and then all we have to do is list our inequality that we came up with. X is greater than negative 6. And this actually is a much better answer than this because guess what? There's decimals between here that are not included. Okay, so this is the one we always want to use when we're doing the inequalities. Okay, hopefully that is super helpful to you. Kitty says bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, there's her face. Boop. And I am going to do another video since my 3-5, the other section, didn't show up very good on the last video. Okay, so be ready. We'll click on the next video in a moment.